Hello, TCG and Lorcana enthusiasts, and welcome to part 3 of our color discussion, where today we are looking at the Emerald cards from Into the Inklands. We've already looked at Amber and we've already looked at Amethyst, so it is time for Emerald. First up, we got Cubby. Whenever this character moves to a location, he gets +3 for the turn. Overall, just a nice thing. Again, moves, it can attack, and then, control board presence. Now, of course, there are some new cards here for hand control. This, Cursed Merfolk. When this character is challenged, each opponent chooses and discards a card. So it's a 1-drop that quests for 2, a little bit of power creep, but also it's doing the Emerald thing where you really don't want to be challenging or doing anything to Emerald, period. So another good card to play in hand control, whether you want to play with the Amber engine or the Steel engine. Now a mandatory 4 in my opinion. We got 𝐑𝐄𝐋𝐀𝐓𝐄𝐃. He's evasive. Again, Emerald is really good at having a lot of evasive characters. Again, more evasive characters means another version of a pure evasive deck for Lorcana. We have another Flotsam and Jetsam. They do work together. Flotsam will give Jetsam +3 power. That's really about it. Neat. I believe the other Flotsam and Jetsam are under the Amethyst color, so you could probably build like a Flotsam Jetsam deck with the Ursulas. It'd probably be pretty neat. We got Friar Tuck. When you play this character, the player or players with the most cards in their hand choose to discard a card. So again, another good hand control card, especially if you play Amber. You might not be drawing all these cards, so if you happen to be on a back foot with your hand control strategy, this is a good way to speed up back into your hand control strategy with forcing them to get cards out. Especially if you at 0 cards period and you play this and your opponent's at least got 1, well, they have to lose that 1. Again, he doesn't do it on any questing or anything like that, but again, he's another nuisance. He's a nice, questing for 2. I don't think he's the greatest hand control card because your opponent basically has to have more cards than you do. And a lot of times I feel like in hand control, you have the control of your hand. Your opponent is there drawing a card a turn and praying and hoping they get something good. So, honestly, I don't see a lot of use for him. But, I mean, if you were playing like a Commander Pod style, then I think there is some use because there could be a chance you need to deal with another player's hand rather than this player's hand. So, I definitely could see that. For individual hand control, I don't think he's all that good. You could play him because he does have the quest too, so you could speed up a win. Next up, we got the 2 𝐒𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐃, her little one and her shift. So shift 3 for over any 𝐒𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐃. This changes everything. When this character quests, you may deal 3 damage to chosen character. A really good card to put into Steel. Also a really good card if you wanted to combo with the Beast from Rise of the Floodborn. Mainly because the Beast from Rise of the Floodborn, when something is damaged, he gets to restand himself. There are some really good cards in here for him as well, from the Sheriff of Nottingham and the Bayou from Steel. But again, a really good control card, especially one to play throw damage everywhere, especially throwing damage using the new Amethyst cards that move damage around, using her to put some damage onto something, and then using the Amethyst cards to move damage around so you can move that 3 damage to something else. Or damage counter from something to something else. In essence, just kind of using that. But still, using it probably in a Steel engine isn't all that bad. The little 𝐒𝐍𝐿, when this character is challenged and banished the challenging character. We've seen it before. It's practically on almost a good chunk of Emerald cards from Chapter 1. Jetsam. A ward, naturally, and then he gets Flotsam ward. That's pretty much about it. He does quest for 2 as well. He is the little body, but what's really nice is because Flotsam gives him +3, he becomes a 5/2 as long as Flotsam up. So, in essence, he'll kill practically anything that comes up onto the board. Which is nice because especially since he's only got 2 will. Flotsam is the same way, he's a 5/2. We got Cloud Kicker. When you play this character, you may return chosen opposing character with 2 power or less to your opponent's hand. This is also very good. I've seen a lot of Emerald strategies playing this and some testing for a hand control version of a deck. I have used him as well because he used to spin something back to your opponent's hand, and in essence, if it's something they need to have on the board and then you go hand control and it's the only card in their hand, well, they have to discard it. So meaning that you've gotten rid of it without having to challenge it. So I think this card for Emerald is really, really good because it does spin away a lot of annoying cards out of your opponent's field, back into their hand. If you're playing hand control, especially with Emerald, then it's a good chance you'll basically just remove it, period. So, good card. Lyle Tiberius Rourke. Lyle Tiberius Rourke. Funny enough, I only know him like as Rourke from the Atlantis movie. I never actually remembered if he actually said his entire name. I think the old guy that builds the entire Atlantis crew, I think, says his real name when he introduces Milo to him. Well, now you know, when you play this character, chosen opposing character gains Reckless during their next turn. Basically, he does the, oh my gosh, what is the character? Blah, 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 blah. He's from the first set. He's like on the tip of my tongue. All right, there it is. It's basically John Silver. But it's John Silver on play, where John Silver could do it at a 6 cost, and he's on play and quest. Rourke is only doing it on play, but he is at a 3 cost. So he is, of course, 3 cheaper than John Silver. Thanks for volunteering. Whenever one of your other characters is banished, each opponent loses 1 lore. So in essence, if you play around like all the Emerald nuisance cards, basically you turn stuff reckless and they have to then swing, and you have basically the nuisance Emerald cards around where if they get banished, they banish whatever banished them. You can use this to your advantage. Play them down, turn something reckless, only quest with something you want to be banished that then banishes your opponent's stuff, and then basically your opponent basically will lose a lore for this. So I could basically, as I say basically about 10,000 times for you all, I can see this in a control strategy where you turn stuff reckless with John Silver and him, and then use him and keep him standing, period, and use him to basically facilitate the fact that your opponent has to come swing into your Emerald guys from the Cheshire Cat, the Mad Hatter, Kuzco, who else? I think those are the only ones that come to my mind. Helga Sinclair. You want them to be challenged so that they can banish the character that challenged them. So very, very nice idea altogether. I could definitely see like running it in a Steel Engine. And again, you would also run John Silver so that when he quests, he can also turn stuff reckless, which is nice. We got Milo, Vanilla. Then we have Milo Thatch, King of Atlantis. He shifts 4 over any Milo. Take them by surprise. When this character is banished, return all opposing characters to their player's hand. So this is very nice. So we've seen Belle from Rise of the Floodborn say, get rid of your player's entire hand if she is challenged. This character is basically, when this character is banished, just return all opposing characters. Now that's banished. The aspect is that it doesn't matter how it gets banished. Whether it's by a challenge, like you swinging into something just so you can knock it out, or the fact of the matter is your opponent deals something with it. Or we have some cards in the future that can banish stuff on the board so we can trigger effects, like Teeth and Gnash already can deal 2 damage. So there is a really neat philosophy here, especially if your opponent has gone into a Y board state, and then you've been picking at the Y board. You can use the Milo here to spin everything back to their hand, or if you know for a fact they're going to have the win next turn, questing with Milo, finding some way to knock him out, and then shoving those characters back to your opponent's hand, because nothing right now can quest the turn it comes in. Now, I do kind of see that Levenberger could change that, but as of right now, nothing can quest the turn it comes in. So this Milo, I don't think has a lot of utility, but I think he has some utility, if we get to the point where, controlling board presence in the late game to win is not a bad, especially if we get cards that could nuke off our own stuff. I don't think we have very little cards. I mean, Teeth and Gnash can deal 2 damage to this to deal 2 damage to something else, but still, that's really about it. Let me know down in the comments any other cards that you can recall that can knock Milo out itself so that you can trigger his effect. Probably the best card out of Emerald. Well, this and another card, Morph. He acts like the shift name for any shift character. So Milo, that 4-cost shift Milo, can shift over Morph for 4 cost because it acts like Milo. The big Tinkerbell. What else comes to mind? Oh, the Steel Beast from Rise of the Floodborn can shift over him. So that way you don't have to wait to play him on a 5, you can play him on a 3. Yes, the Shift Beast is on a 3 cost to shift over any beast. So, just very, very, very good card. Now, I know a lot of people complained about Morph changing the way the game works. But personally, I would really like to see this shift mechanic be used more. As of right now, it's kind of like this gimmick mechanic where you can reduce the cost of playing a character. But a lot of times, like, think about it. Steel decks throughout Rise of the Floodborns era weren't really even using the shift cost for the Steel Beast, the 5-drop Steel Beast. They were just hard casting it. This means that Morph can act like beasts and play it in the deck so that you can morph over it. You can use it for the little Tinkerbell. You can use it for any character. Heck, you can even use it for the Great Mouse Detective. His shift, because he actually does something when he shifts. And again, because he acts like the name, that shift cost activates. So it's very neat. I know some people have said they don't like it because it changes the mechanics. I really like it because I feel like, if I'm being honest, how many times are we really using the shift mechanic in Lorcana? Sure, maybe to shift Big Tinkerbell over Little Tinkerbell. But that's really about it. That's as much as I've ever really shifted cards. So, it's nice to at least see this. We got another Peter Pan. Once per turn when this character moves to a location, gain 1 lore equal to that location's lore. So you could do like lore, like a location spam. Because as long as you basically can, because there's nothing saying I can't not move a character once per turn. I can move as many characters per turn as long as I have ink to pay. So you could do like a Peter Pan like spam locations where then he just gets moved across forever, whatever the ink is. And a lot of locations only need like 1 ink to move to a location. So you just move there, you gain that lore, and then you can move somewhere else, gain that lore, and then heck, even quests. You can even do this when he's just right onto the board. You can just pay to move him around, which I think turns into some very interesting gameplay. I don't think it's a really good card, but it could be some interesting looping gameplay to like speed you across that lore threshold just a little faster, so you put that pressure on your opponent because they'll be in a back end of the lore. So I can see something like that happening. We got another Prince John. Whenever this player quests, each opponent loses it with 2 or more. With more lore than you, loses 2 lore. Again, we've seen cards that have done this. If your opponent's up more lore, they lose lore. Now, the problem with this, again, much like Friar Tuck, is the problem is you have to be behind. And a lot of times you don't want to be behind. You want to be playing ahead. You want to always be equaling your opponent so that there's not really a time when your opponent is ahead of lore. Yeah, so I like Friar Tuck. It's so situational. Now, again, if side decks were in Lorcana, I would put this in like an Emerald side deck just because there could be a chance you play like an aggro, quest-only Amber Amethyst strategy where they're just going quest. They don't care about anything. They don't care about challenging you. They just care about all their guys that can quest for 2 to 3 lore a turn and they're gaining you fast lore. If you then said, okay, well, I'm going to face that deck. I'm going to put this in, and then that way, when he quests, my opponent can then lose 2 lore because he's always going to be ahead of me. And then if I don't need him to quest a turn, I'll just sit him there. And because my opponent's not really into challenging and dealing damage, he's more into questing, it's a really good card. Much like where I think Friar Tuck, if you were playing a deck strategy that draws a whole bunch of cards, then you could throw him in to that deck and basically deal with it. So, a neat strategy overall. Neat cards overall for both of them. I just think they're so niche to what they do. Now we have probably one of the possible cards for power creep really we've ever seen in Lorcana. A first of, I'm pretty sure of, and possible power creep card. A vanilla 6-drop Robin Hood that quests for 4 and has a 4/5 body. So, he's not that easy to take down. So, I mean, this is power creep, true, though I do like its vanilla text. Some days it's nice to let the river do the running. In essence, just Robin Hood's just going to quest all the lore you need. It does feel like a lot of like a win more card, like I'm going to put this card down and then I'm going to quest for 4 and then basically you're probably going to have to run into this at a 4/5 and there are not a lot of characters. There are some characters who can deal with this, but again, by turn 6 for most strategy decks, you're winning. So this could be easily come down turn 6 or even turn 5 depending on what you're playing, especially if you're playing like Emerald Sapphire, where Sapphire has so many new cards that ramp up into it that maybe by even like turn 4, thanks to all the new Sapphire ramp, you can easily bring this out, and then suddenly your opponent's having to realize by turn 4 they may not have anyone by turn 5 to deal with this character, or even turn 6 to deal with him being a 4/5 body. So a little bit of power creep. I do like it though, because it does show that Ravensburger is kind of saying that we're going to have more of these power cards that kind of can do things. And it is meaning that we're going to have different strategies for building, and we're going to have to realize these cards could exist in people's decks. Like I said, I think the easiest deck that can spam him out is a Sapphire Emerald deck. Just because Sapphire has the ability to ramp extremely fast, so it's very easy to get this character out. The first and only hyena currently in the game is Shenzi. This is also the hyena that was, when she heard the name Mufasa, was shivering. Take that, I won't say anything else because I do like to keep this channel at least PG, but use your imagination when you see the scene. But anyways, I'll handle this. This character is at a location. She gets a +3 power, so without the location, she's kind of useless. While this character is at a location, whenever she challenges another character, you may draw a card. So this is very nice. So again, this is kind of a control card. It's very nice because if it's at a location, and again, a lot of locations are very nice. We'll read a green location. I highly recommend sticking Shenzi to. Overall, that's really nice because then she becomes a nuisance to attack. She can draw you a card. And if you keep her at a specific location here, I think it's Kuzco's Palace that we'll read later, it's very, very good, then she's just, overall, she's just a good character. She's the only hyena we have. Again, Rafiki right now shows us that, we're going to have more of these sense of characters right here, like Storyborn Ally Hyena. We're going to see more hyenas come out probably in set 4, and we may see more characters like Rafiki that are going to target specific styles of characters, like pirates or hyenas or sorcerers. Anything like that. So, I think it's a neat card. It's just good overall. His vanilla. That's about it. I'll say that. Skippy. He's got Ward. We got a 7-drop quest for 3 Starkey. That's pretty much about it for him since he is a vanilla. We have a Stitch with evasive and high. While this carries a location, he gains Ward as well, which is pretty nice. Being that he's evasive Ward quest for 2, meaning that unless your opponent has evasive characters to challenge him, most stuff that like selects to destroy, like a lot of the song cards from Steel Control, can't even select him. The Sapphire cards that select can't select him. So I mean, he's always going to be questing for 2 as long as he sits at a location. So again, another good card for an evasive strategy deck. Ursula, when you play this character, chosen opponent reveals their hand and discards a song card of your choice. So I do like her in Song Control, but she's so niche in Song Control. Now, why do I say that? Or no, I should say Hand Control, not Song Control. She's good against Song Control, not really good against most other strategies. If I'm being honest, there aren't a lot of decks in Lorcana that really play songs. Sure, Song Control will play it 100% because that's their entire strategy. Emerald Steel, song singing, song board controlling, and all of that. So, as much as this card is niche, I really like this because there are those random songs that are just super, super good. Like, Friends on Their Side is super good. Strike a Match in here is super good. All the Song Control cards are super good. Hand Controls, if you were to play the Mirror, it's Sudden Chill is super good. So, and plus this gives you hand knowledge. Even if you don't see a song, this still gives you hand knowledge. It still lets you know what your opponent's playing and what they might be playing next. So it gives you an idea what their hand is. So it may help you play around with your hand control strategy or anything like that. I like it. I think it's very niche to what it does, but still. Knowledge of your opponent's hand in this game right now is very limited. We have the Sapphire card that can do it, and now Ursula that can do it. Again, you can't write that hand knowledge down, but still. Overall, it's really good. Just a really good card. This Ursula, oh man, this Ursula is amazing. Right now, she is, of course, an expensive card out of Into the Inklands for being a legendary, but all the legendaries are going to hold a value if they're good. If they're good legendaries, they're going to hold a value. And right now, she holds a value for a good reason. Whenever this character sings a song, you may play that song again from your discard for free. So you don't have to pay an ounce of ink for it. She sings songs 3 through 1, so she can sing those type of songs. So she's not overly broken. She can't suddenly sing A Whole New World twice. She can't suddenly sing Grab Your Swords twice. She can't really sing like Then Came Zeus twice. But she's very good for any songs that are at 3 cost, and there are a lot of songs at 3 cost and lower, really, that are really, really good. So anyways, then you put that card in the bottom of your deck. Let's talk about those songs. Do you like drawing 2 cards off of friends on the other side? Would you rather draw 4 cards? That's right. Have her sing it, draw 2 cards, draw 2 more cards. It's a pot of greed times 2. Strike a Match is really good. It's a draw 2, discard 2. So in essence, if you need to discard stuff or dig in your deck for something, that's really, really great. Do you like playing Sudden Chill in hand control? Play it twice and have your opponent discard 2 cards this time. Do you like Let the Storm Rage On or Strength of a Raging Fire? Those cards that can pop, deal 2 damage, draw 1, or deal damage based on how many guys you have on a board. Have her sing it and then do it again. Yes, the Storm Rage On is very nice on her because the fact is she sings it twice. You get to draw 2 free cards and deal 4 damage to anything on the board that is a character, not a location. So just very, very good. Very good indeed. Definitely a lot of Emerald strategies are playing her, especially like an Emerald Steel control deck that is using like the Storm Rages on, Strength of a Raging Fire, could use like Strike a Match to dig stuff, could use Sudden Chill to strip your opponent's hand. Just very good overall. Perfect. Anyways, we have Wildcat. He has the evasive, and he can banish a chosen item. Again, items are so niche to the game right now. Like, not every deck runs an item, and some decks may only run like 1 or 2 of a specific item. Still, kind of niche. It's a nice evasive guy, but again, there are better evasive guys at 3. Like Minnie Mouse from Amber is much better because she quests for 2 at evasive rather than this 1. Again, if items would become more prevalent, especially like Sapphire's Popsicles, but again, I don't know how high Sapphire is placing right now within the local meta. But honestly, if Sapphire were to be seen more often, then yes, this would be good. Again, it would be nice to have a side deck, because I could definitely throw this into a side deck, because if I knew I was going to play a deck with a lot of items, then I would use it, because he could then banish the items. Hair and Flabbershim can't even use it. Again, there are still very good items. Again, I think they're all in Sapphire, which means you need to see a Sapphire matchup, but still, again, still well worth a side deck card, and we need side decks because a lot of these cards, in my opinion, are side deck worthy. I would not clog my main deck with them, personally. Now we have Zazu. Once characters at a location, he gets a +1. He does come out for 1. Most locations don't. There are some locations that do cost 1, so he's pretty nice. He doesn't last very long, and he doesn't have evasive or anything, so be cautious on that. But anyways, we got our songs. Has Set My Heart. This is, of course, from the Musketeer song. This is the Merryweather. I think it's Merryweather. She's trying to kill Goofy, but Goofy starts singing to her and is trying to fall in love with her, and of course she does. You could just banish a chosen item. Again, so niche. Very niche. Again, if we just see more item style decks, then not bad. I'll Find My Way is another song at 1 cost. I like that we're seeing songs now at 1 cost. Chosen character gets +2 this turn, then may move to a location for free. Very nice, again, if you wanted to play like that Peter Pan, because any character could sing it for 1, and then, so you could have like Peter Pan sing it, and then you can move him, because characters can still move while they're, so you could even have another character just sing it, and then give the power to Peter Pan. That then allows Peter Pan to move. Then you could move him to another location, and again, he gains that lore, and then you could pay ink to move him again. So, like I said, I think there really is like a strategy to play like Peter Pan of like going between locations and just gaining all this lore off of them and basically speeding up through this lore, because you're basically just doing location spam. You're just going from location, and forcing your opponent to have to out them. And trust me, that some locations have pretty big booties, so it's going to take a couple cards to knock it out. Strike a Good Match is a really nice card. It's a draw 2, discard 1, which is really good. Especially if you sing it off the Ursula, it's a draw 4, discard 2. So, yeah, I know some people are going to say, well, it's a discard, but you do get +1 when you naturally sing it. Again, digging for the cards necessary to play your combos, in my opinion, are just very, very good. Do you need to see specific card to start your combos? Do you need a specific card to ensure you can stop your opponent? Again, you may lose the discard, but again, we do have stuff that cycles cards back into the drop. I don't think that we have any cards that really grab stuff from the drop just yet. But again, if we do, this is going to get this card even better. But personally, in my opinion, having a hand advantage and having stuff to counter your opponent's plays, digging those cards is very, very good. So dig the cards, dig the cards, dig the cards. Airfoil, you could tap it. If you play 2 or more actions this turn, draw a card. This kind of goes with the Minnie Mouse Diver, where Minnie Mouse Diver says when you play 2 or more actions, you can draw a card, which is actually very easy because, again, if this Ursula does trigger 2 actions, basically the singing, all songs are action cards, as they say, but the question would be, is if you sung the Ursula here, if you did the Ursula singing, you sang Ursula, she basically uses the action card, and then activates the action card again. That'd be the only question to see if Airfoil could trigger on that, because you did play 2 or more actions this turn, because Ursula played you 2 actions. You sang the first one, and then you used this action again for free. So if that is the case, that's not actually a bad effect overall. It's still very niche because you would need the Ursula to do it, but we're getting a lot of songs that are very, very cheap now. So Minnie Mouse from Ruby, from Rise of the Floodborn, actually has more ability to gain that extra 2 lore to become 3 lore. And the Airfoil might have some chances to be played as well. Robin's Bow, you can tap it, deal 1 damage to chosen damaged character or location. Again, this is probably really good if you want to use the Amethyst engine to move damage around, but the thing is you want to have Robin Hood. Now, of course, we only really have one Robin Hood here, and that is, of course, the green Robin Hood. You want to play this in the Steel engine because we have the Steel Robin Hood and then the Shift Steel Robin Hood. That's really, really good at a shift cost of 3. So whenever a character of yours named Robin Hood quests, you may ready this item. Again, if you were to play like a Beast OTK strategy, you could also do this as well, because in essence, whenever a Robin Hood quest, just restand this, tap it for free, just damage them all over the place. Very neat. I've seen very little decks playing this, but I think it's very niche for what it does. And then we have Starlight Vial. You may tap it to pay 2 less for the next action you play. Again, this is much like 𝐕𝐈𝐃𝐿's cards, where you could untap them to reduce the cost of your next action. Right there, tap it, pay 1 less for the next action. So now we have a way to pay 3 less for each action we do. And then you can tap it, banish this item, draw 2 cards, and choose and discard 1 card. So basically, it's strike a match, but banishing the item. Neat. I haven't seen a lot of decks play it. I personally would play more of strike a match. Heck, even 𝐕𝐈𝐃𝐿's cards were never really played all that much, and I couldn't really get them to work in a lot of deck strategies. But still, if we saw more of this, like Emerald's ability to tap to reduce costs for actions, and we could see even more actions. Again, this is another way to even make Airfoil and that Diver Minnie Mouse work even better, because we can now reduce actions by 3 because of 𝐕𝐈𝐃𝐿's cards and Starlight Vial. Finally, for the Emerald, we got all of our locations. We got the DeVille Manor, basically Cruella DeVille's estate. It's a one drop. It's 4 will move characters for 1, gains you 1 lore turn. Now we have Fang. So characters gain ward and evasive while here. So this is very nice. So basically, if you wanted to play an evasive strategy, but you want to give everything wards, so if you're playing a steal strategy or anything like that, your opponent's going to have to come in to take this out while you sit there, and you could even play characters who aren't evasive and start giving them evasive. And just spamming the board with all these guys who can't be targeted by effects and will have to be hit by guys who have evasive. So it's really nice. Not mentioned it gives you 2 lore a turn. 4, it does have 6 will, so it is a little more viable to die, but still. It would turn your opponent to have to go swing at it so that you can, because all your guys are basically can't be attacked and can't be chosen for effects too. So really nice. Especially if you played in the evasive strategy, you can basically give all your guys ward, even if they already have evasive. And then finally, Kuzco's Palace. While a character is challenged and banished here, banish the game. So this Kuzco's Palace, like I said, is very good if you can use Rourke and John Silver to make a reckless strategy, where you're just turning all your opponent's guys into reckless. You sit a bunch of characters that you don't really care about, and then you have them attack in this location. So they're sitting in this location, your opponent's attacking them, and then because those characters don't have effects that banish, like all the Emerald characters, then you can force them to come in here and they can become banished now. So I think there is a competent strategy. I don't recall which color, but I believe there are some colors. There is a color where there are people that can give reckless to other people, right? I know Rourke and John Silver can do it. I can't remember what other characters do it as well. But still, there is a strategy of just turning your opponent's stuff into reckless and forcing them to attack this location or attack the characters at this location, which is pretty nice overall. In essence, it's always protecting your characters, and truth be told, it's being in control card. So I could see being played in like Steel, a Emerald Steel control card where you just turn stuff reckless and you force your opponent to attack. They can never quest, they can never do anything else, and then all the characters here are always threatening to banish whatever that is. Say for instance, you force them a big Tinkerbell to basically force out a big Tinkerbell to have to swing in. And then let's say you play this and the big Tinkerbell swings, but again, I think they could still swing at the location. I don't think Reckless actually states on it that you have to swing at a character. Again, it's going to matter kind of what the wording of Reckless states. They can't quest and must challenge if able. So they can challenge. Again, challenging a location is still the same, so they'd have to go after the location, but still. It's really nice because it does make all your characters that are there threatening. So it's pretty nice. Overall, Emerald didn't get any like new strategies. They just buffed out existing strategies. They buffed out hand control. They buffed out, I think maybe the newest strategy would probably be Emerald control, going more into like reckless control. But that's really about it. And then they got more annoying cards that we've seen before. And probably the only card I really would call overall power creep being in Robin Hood. And then, of course, got probably the best card. Well, one of the best cards, because the Steel has some really good cards as well. But one of the best, well, Jafar was really good. And, of course, now Ursula is really good. But, yeah, Ursula, Jafar, and I believe the only other really good card from this set right now is the 5-drop Shift 3 Robin Hood from Steel. But, yeah, this Ursula is really amazing. Again, we got some new cards for Evasive. We got some really nice songs. The locations are really good as well. But overall, Emerald is Emerald. It still does the exact same thing we had. Hand control, being nuisance cards that you don't want to challenge, and then if cards happen to be banished, do something amazing with them. But let me know down in the comments your thoughts on the Emerald cards from Into the Inklands. What decks are you tinkering with using these Emerald cards? What strategies have you come up with? Let me know all of that down in the comments. And while you're commenting, do make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you can notify when my videos go live for you. And we'll see you here next time on Mama Dragon's TCG.